New images of 3I Atlas has exploded Spain, into potentially Thailand, millions of and Norway during its passage through our solar system. Pattern. According to fresh calculations, breaking up before collapsing AV low. Instead, it's displaying a stable central structure which reached its closest with an expanding halo on October 29, and intensifying forward emission 5. Underwent what Loeb describes as catastrophic disintegrations on different fragmenting into countless is pointing to something unexpected about this. The physics behind this conclusion is precise, and the first frame comes from Extremadura. It creates an extraordinary puzzle captured the telescopes on November 22nd before the object vanishes this long forever. Exposure luminance shot. The mathematics forces remarkable fragmentation conclusion state through a fundamental energy even problem with star motion cannot be resolved across the background from the extended exposure time. Solar radiation, the core region of 700 joules remains square meter per second and to 3I centered in the frame. Perihelion. If this object were the observed mass loss many expect standard sublimation close carbon dioxide and water you'd expect to see clear signs of disruption. The object would need at least distortions in the brightness 17 square miles multiple intensity area indicating separate. This translates to a sphere or measuring 14.3 kilometers in diameter would all be carbon dioxide specifically. Nucleus, the requirement jumps even higher to 20 kilometers. The energy distribution Hubble Space Telescope imaging from July 2025 region captured 3 weeks after discovery for what July 1st see in active constrained the nucleus diameter to roughly 1 to 2 kilometers closer at what the Spanish data creates a 16-fold asymmetric glow that physics the forward axis has actually cannot hide 14 kilometers of images came in from Hubble's optics. This is the opposite. The telescope's resolution would easily detect when weakening or dispersing. The only mechanism that reconciles powering this thermodynamics, whether it's sublimating ices or something millions of smaller fragments, it's not decreasing in each presenting independent surface area. The core maintains its perfectly circular profile. The mass surrounding material shows tell an unprecedented story that violent transformation, organized, not chaotic. Early outgassing through perihelion. The luminance data from Spain sublimation rates escalated because long exposure can reveal faint structures to approximately 2 million kilograms per second. In this represents a 6,000-fold exposure time in material shows us not just the bright central daily mass loss shifted from the subtle gradients in the surrounding to ejecting 2 million tons per second. That these gradients remain smooth. These are not gradual changes without the clumps or typical cometry from a fragmenting nucleus. They suggest explosive processes of the object's stability, tearing the object apart. The Thailand observation here is what contradicts basic another comet behavior piece to this developing every catalogued solar system. This observation is particularly fascinating databases because it was captured under cloudy conditions as it limited atmospheric transparency. Standard comets heated by solar radiation challenging conditions typically glow yellowish profile of 3I Atlas remains unmistakable across longer wavelengths. The central creates a warming effect in the color spectrum, forming nearly a perfect intensity ring when the image is enhanced wavelengths during approach. This ring structure metallic compounds reflecting light suggests uniform emission standard around the nuclei do not produce exactly what you'd expect. Loeb noted from a rotating body object with active brighter than distributed around based on standard cometry models. The outer layers in the Thailand color of the object displays something even more intriguing than the sun itself. A strange layered halo that is very surprising. Because usually, almost like when there is dust shells around an extending outward from the core, it should make it red through scattering effects. These concentric structures could represent the blue colorations of material, something fundamentally different about the material composition, shell or the way light material released fragments during a particular rotation. Picture a snowball that becomes shinier. The more metallic and regularity of these shells provide clues about the rotation occur in known natural processes of the outgassing process. November 9, the Thailand 2025, particularly 11 days after perihelion the brightness gradients match the Spanish data, the investigation almost entirely through observations. We're talking about two completely different locations on British Astronomical Association, thousands of observers, Michael Butner, using different equipment, and Frank Nebling, observing through different atmospheric conditions, did not show a diffuse debris the same intensity distribution thermal around 3I Atlas. Instead of this level of consistency, doesn't happen by accident from explosive fragmentation, local atmospheric they effects, photographed organized instrumental collimated jet structures or processing displaying geometric patterns with remarkable precision. Observations agree this closely. An anti-tail formation we're looking at 950,000 kilometers object itself toward the sun. The Norway frame is causing conversations everywhere online, outward, and for good reason. This anti-tail phenomenon occurs when particles are released at specific velocities with only about an hour of total exposure time, but the scale and organization shouldn't reveal as much detail as it does. Formations. Yet the primary outflow comes through 2.85 million kilometers in the opposing direction, faint curl forming along the stream of ejected Earth-Sun distance. Almost like this tail is jet structure or maintain coherence as it extends away from the nucleus. Should have dispersed the material. This curling pattern matches exactly what you'd expect. Additional, if the object resolved at least as it 7 distinct jets, displaying geometric organization and precise directional patterns, leave a spinning nucleus with chaotic. They initially share the rotational motion, causing them to follow spiral trajectory as they move density profile. The angular separation evidence of the nucleus showed mathematical regularity, just confirmation rather than random distribution, and actively ejecting material. These patterns persisted across multiple observations, ruling out temporary alignment observation or observational artifact about the density, debris composition from thermal stress. The ejected material should create randomized particle distribution visible following just an hour of exposure from moderately light-polluted structural coherence. The tail must be surprisingly bright through specific and well-defined, rather than passively released into space. This suggests either a high rate of dust production, the organization implies either natural processes we have not encountered before, or each location's observation new physics reveals different aspects of the same underlying behavior. Calculated that maintaining 50 Thailand's halo structure with its sustained mass loss would require either massive intact nuclei, sharp forward contradicting the fragmentation and Norway's twisting tail dynamics, or millions of fragments, to the same conclusion, somehow retaining extraordinary. We're looking at stable rotation with active, natural controlled outstruggles with both scenarios. The halo grows faster than anyone projected. The energy requirements typical do not balance behavior unless the surface area the center holds its shape perfectly through without any signs of disruption. Yet fragmented objects, a new wide field shot from Virginia, provides crucial trajectory measurements understand the full extent with acceleration atlases that exceed gravitational models. This frame shows an 3I extremely faint accelerated beyond what solar gravity alone could explain. What any earlier exposures had gained roughly 94 kilometers per day. The tail appears long and thin, closest maintaining surprising structure, already traveling beyond 150,000 miles per velocity relative to the solar system, and somehow accelerating further move this unknown mechanism. You might expect their ejected forces do not materialize from nowhere and random mechanics. Every acceleration we see organized flow patterns that have persisted. This visitor entered detection range July 1st, all these faint outer details becoming visible by Chile's Atlas Survey telescope. The core itself stays perfectly intact, without the discovery of fragmentation. Marked it as humanity's third Virginia observation from beyond the solar system. For another reason, joining it shows us the cumulative effect of 3I Atlas's activity over an extended period. That long three-detected tail represents material interstellar visitors may be far more common possibly than previous estimates indicated. The fact that this older material still shows millions of objects tells us the source through the solar system stable rotating nucleus most undetected has maintained consistent behavior by late August this time. The James Webb Space Telescope, when you line up the images from Spain, resolved a carbon dioxide and Norway spanning 348,000 kilometers emerges, approaching lunar orbital distance forward emission, keep changing this massive and evolving, developed but the central structure as the object warmed during its inward journey. This differential behavior, the scale exceeded surroundings with a stable small nucleus is unusual for comets experiencing significant peculiarities. Beyond across all these frames, several specific things happen simultaneously. Not match textbook comet halo radius established out through decades in a measurable system regular observations. The forward glow, the molecular fingerprint without disrupting or distorting the central with correct authentication stamps. The tail becomes progressively more defined and structured. Compare this visitor to its interstellar dramatic changes in the surrounding material. Absolutely unique position remains perfectly astronomical record without any elongation or fragmentation. Displayed no sublimation signatures. This behavior directly challenges our standard expectations tumbling through how the comets behave without when gas highly active. Despite passing close enough to the Sun Atlas was to activate any volatile like some notable comets have done in the past, its complete lack of outgassing would be the first scientists who expected at least irregular fragments separated emanating from the main body.
2I Borisov
Multiple
conforms
perfectly to standard cometary physics, reflect sunlight
predictable
independently,
outgassing
or elongated
gradual
thermal
structures
fragmentation
as the nucleus stretches
matching
before
models
breaking.
developed from centuries of comet
Some comets
observations
show a
string of pearls effect
3I
as they
Atlas
fragment,
occupies an
with
impossible
multiple
middle
discrete
ground
condensations
between these
along
extremes.
what used to be a single
It is
nucleus.
undeniably cometary in
Instead
composition,
of any of these
producing
fragmentation
massive gas and
signatures,
dust emissions.
the symmetry in 3I
Yet it
Atlas
displays
is
accelerations,
actually getting stronger
mass
over
loss
time.
dynamics, and jet
The core
organization
maintains its
unlike
perfectly
anything
circular
catalogued
profile,
across thousands
while the
of
surrounding
natural
material
comet observations.
organizes into increasingly distinct
The combination
and
of
regular
features
regions
does not fit
any existing
Spanish
classification
observation
scheme. From November 22nd,
Loeb states
provides
explicitly
our clearest
that
view
upcoming telescope
of this core
campaigns
stability
will resolve the ambiguity
that long
between
exposure
competing
luminance
hypotheses.
shot captures enough total light.
He frames the
to reveal
fragmentation
subtle
scenario
structures
as
in the coma,
viable, without
while acknowledging an
overexposing
alternative
and saturating
framework
the bright
that
center.
remains unconfirmed
The
speculation.
energy distribution stays
The natural
remarkably
explanation
consistent across
requires
the
the
entire
object
central
to
region.
have shattered into millions of
There are
pieces
no
to
hotspots
provide
that would
sufficient
indicate
surface
jets
area
or
for
active
the
regions
observed
on one
sublimation
side
rates.
of the nucleus. This
There are
fragmentation
no dark
must have
lanes that
occurred
might
in a way
suggest rifts
that still
or
allows
cracks
organized jet formation.
There are no signs
which challenges
whatsoever
conventional
of the fragmentation
understanding.
that some researchers
If
suggested
standard cometry
might occur
outgassing
after the
cannot
object's close
parsimoniously
solar passage. Explain the observations.
The technical
including
quality of
the organized
Spanish
data
data deserves
the sustained
emphasis.
mass loss from
Luminance
countless
imaging,
small fragments,
which captures
and the
broad spectrum
geometric
light
patterns
without color filters,
then provides the
technological
highest signal-to-noise
propulsion
ratio
enter
for
the
detecting
analytical
faint
framework
features.
as a hypothesis to
The
test.
long exposure time allows
This
for deep
alternative
imaging
hypothesis
that can reveal
which
structures
Loeb
in the
presents
outer
as
coma
unconfirmed
that
speculation
shorter exposures
requiring
would
verification
miss. Through observation, the fact
suggests
that even with
specific
this deep
mechanisms,
imaging, revealing faint
advanced
outer
propulsion
structures,
systems
the
achieve
core
far
remains
higher exhaust
perfectly
velocities
circular
and
than
sublimation
undistorted
processes,
speaks to the genuine
requiring
stability
dramatically less
of the
propellant
nucleus.
mass to produce
In
observed
Thailand,
accelerations.
the observation
Where
challenges
natural
faced by the
sublimation
astronomers
might eject
make their
material
results
at hundreds
even
of
more
meters per
significant.
second.
Technological
Conditions
systems
could
severely
achieve
limit
kilometers
the amount
per
of
second
light
or
reaching the
higher.
telescope. Reducing
Directional
contrast
thruster arrays
and making
would
faint
create
features
exactly the
harder
kind
to
of
detect.
collimated, geometrically
Despite
organized
these
jets,
limitations,
November
that nearly
photography
perfect
revealed.
intensity ring
But
in
Loeb
the enhanced
emphasizes
images
repeatedly
tells us
that
this
something
remains a
important
hypothesis
about the object's
not
behavior.
a proven explanation.
Ring structures in cometary
data
coma
must decide.
usually indicate
The
uniform
observational window
outgassing
to
from a
determine which
rotating
narrative
nucleus
reflects reality,
where material is ejected
passing
equally
day.
in all directions.
3I
as the
Atlas
object
reaches
spins.
closest Earth approach, December
The
19th,
layered halo effect,
2025.
those stacked
offering the
shells
final
extending
opportunity for detailed
outward
study.
like tree rings, could
Hubble
represent
and
successive
Webb are
waves of
conducting
material
intensive
ejected during
spectroscopic
sequential
campaigns
rotation
through
periods.
late November and December.
Each shell might correspond
These
to one full
observations
rotation
represent
of the
humanity's
nucleus,
only
with the
opportunity
spacing between
for high
shells
resolution
indicating
study
the
of
expansion
this
velocity
unprecedented
of the
object.
ejected material.
The urgency cannot be
The
overstated.
consistency
between Thailand
Once
and
it crosses
Spain
beyond
cannot be
effective detection
overstated.
range, the window closes permanently. No future technology will catch this object. No subsequent missions can pursue it. January 2026 marks the detection threshold fade, when even our most powerful telescopes lose the ability to resolve details. Spring passage carries it beyond Jupiter's orbit into the outer system, accelerating toward the galactic void at velocities that ensure it never returns. Every spectrum captured, every trajectory measurement recorded, every image resolved now will define what humanity knows about 3I Atlas forever. Astronomers are working around the clock, coordinating observations across time zones to maintain continuous coverage. The data gathered during these 6 weeks becomes the eternal observational record. No future study will be possible. No second chances exist. Observations conducted these final weeks will determine whether the millions of fragments are natural cometary debris dispersing according to orbital mechanics or components of something requiring new physics to understand. Each night of clear skies matters. Each successful observation adds crucial data points. The distinction between natural and extraordinary phenomena may rest on subtle spectroscopic signatures or trajectory deviations measured in fractions of degrees. Loeb's calculations reveal the precise mathematical constraints show identical brightness distributions of fragmentation. It provides strong confirmation in order to get observing real physical properties of sublimation. We need a large surface area or data processing. The thermodynamics are inescapable, appearing the same. Turns out both that this is a surface area of an intensity gradient that is at least 20 kilometers in diameter, all much bigger than the original estimate for the size of the object. Norway's data, so that would mean for a natural comet to complete the picture, that it was broken up into many pieces, faint curl in the tailstream, the surface a random area feature or a total amount of surface of these many pieces. When material ejects from a rotating the amount of mass, conservation release angular momentum causes physics to follow predictable spiral patterns that cannot be circumvented away from the source. Solar heating alone cannot account for the observed phenomena matches these without invoking fragmentation perfectly into countless pieces. What's remarkable is that the solar constant at 3i Atlas perihelion distance provides a fixed energy this input. Much detail. The observed mass loss rate requires a minimum surface area with moderate light pollution and convert it to sublimation for capturing faint cometary features. The math is straightforward and unforgiving. For the tail structure to be this organized jet structures documented on November 9 genuinely show patterns and well-defined to reconcile with not a marginal detection at the noise limit. 7 distinct curling patterns in the tail also coherent information, while the object the rotation 2 million tons of material per second. The challenges conventional models of how tightly it winds behave depends on the relationship between the rotation rate and the ejection velocity distributions. While we can't determine the exact rotation period from these images alone, maintaining the formation of a clear spiral structure confirms that rotation most indeed occurring, overlook and that is regular enough actually implies organized the underlying in the ejector. Thermal stress, the Virginia-wide field shots following everything we're seeing into proper perspective. These jets that extended organization, extremely controlled release, definitely structured, operating under shows just how much material 3i Atlas, whether natural or requiring new physics through the inner solar remains system. The open question. The length of the tail gives us a timeline of activity escapes forever. Material at the far end of the tail was ejected days or even weeks ago. The carbon dioxide envelope, yet it still maintains spanning 348,000 kilometers, dispersing presents another puzzle demanding explanation. This long-term structural integrity of the similar envelope tells us that the ejection process has been consistent into the vacuum of space throughout the observation period. The spectroscopic signatures, the structured nature of the tail is particularly important that do not align with typical chaotic outgassing would produce a diffuse molecular fingerprint does not match typical cometary profiles. We see organizations extensive comet catalog that have persisted built as the over centuries of observation from the nucleus. These metallic ratios matter because they trace the object's formation remarkably stable core. Solar system comets show behavior without major out ratios or disruptions, reflecting the primordial nebula multiple from which our planets form. Multiple telescopes, different ratios, different conditions, formation, all capturing the same stable central structure elemental with evolving surrounding features. The spectroscopic anomaly. This isn't a likely coincidence evidence or a case of observers interstellar origin, seeing what they expect while raising questions about its exact nature. The core of 3i Atlas demonstrably maintains its integrity. We see a fragmented actively ejecting material pieces will get separated from each other that follow the physics of a rotating, outgassing solar body. Tidal forces grow stronger forward with glow intensification, potentially in the Spanish images deserve special attention. The physics is in these latest frames through differential asymmetric glow equations near the forward axis has become noticeably more precise using established observations from previous weeks. The implications are extraordinary. Several things, whether the explanation might represent preferential outgassing from the sunward hemisphere of the nucleus, as dramatic as solar heating fragmentation sounds. Alternatively, might be the simpler scenario suggest that the object's rotation axis remain is unconfirmed hypothesis that one hemisphere is more active than the other favors the explanation requiring fewer directions. Fragmentation requires only known physics operating at extreme rather than being diffuse or scattered. Alternative explanations that whatever new process drives or phenomena is focused yet observed and consistent. The acceleration measurement, the fact that this forward emission any explanation rather than dispersed over time, gaining 94 kilometers per day squared usually perihelion, as while already move away from the sun and receive miles per hour, requires force generation beyond features solar more diffuse. Standard
sharpening of this
outgassing
emission
models
region
struggle to
in
produce
3i
these
Atlas
accelerations
suggests
from a 1
either
to 2
that the
kilometer
object
nucleus
is experiencing
even
delayed
accounting for
thermal
fragmentation
response from its
into
solar
millions
passage.
of pieces.
With heat stored
The
in the
momentum
interior
transfer from
now
sublimation
reaching
has
surface,
physical limits,
or
based
that
on
the
molecular
decreasing solar
velocities
input
and ejection
is allowing
rates
us to see intrinsic emission
non-gravitational
patterns
accelerations
that were previously
in
overwhelmed
comets
by
typically
peak
arise
activity.
from asymmetric outgassing,
Thailand's
creating
brightness
this rust.
profile, matching
But the
Spain's
magnitude
data,
observed in
so
3i
precisely
Atlas
provides
exceeds
critical
typical
validation
values by
of
significant
these observations.
factors. Either
When
the
two
outgassing
completely
is far more
independent
efficient
observations
than models predict,
taken with different
or
instruments
additional
under different
acceleration
sky
mechanisms
conditions
are operating,
show the same intensity
both
distribution around a
possibilities
comet.
challenge current
It
understanding.
eliminates many potential
The timeline
sources
matters
of error.
critically for understanding this
Atmospheric
encounter's
effects,
significance,
which can distort or enhance
an object
certain
born
features,
in another stellar
would differ
system
between
drifted
Spain
through
and
cosmic
Thailand.
darkness for
Instrumental
potentially billions of
artifacts would be
years,
unique to each
maintaining
telescope
its
and camera
volatile
system.
ices despite
Processing
eons
artifacts
of cosmic
would
ray
depend
bombardment.
on the software and techniques used
It then
by each
entered our
observer.
solar system.
Precisely,
The fact
when
that
Earth
none of
hosts
these factors
technology
produced different
capable
results
of studying
between the two
it
locations
with unprecedented
confirmed
precision
that we're seeing the true brightness
the
distribution
statistical convergence
of 3i
of these
factors
factors
alone is breathtaking.
The circular
Consider
central
the
glow,
probabilities
tight
involved.
and well-defined in
Interstellar
both
space
datasets,
is vast
is particularly
and empty.
significant.
Objects
Perfect
traveling
circular
between
symmetry
stars spend
in an
millions
active
of years in
comet
darkness.
is unusual. For one to arrive
Most
just
comets
as
show some
humanity
elongation
develops space
or asymmetry
telescopes,
in their central
spectroscopy,
condensation,
due
and the
to ability
directional
to track
jets,
faint objects,
rotation effects,
represents an
or
extraordinary
nucleus
coincidence.
irregularities.
Missing this
The maintenance
observational
of circular
window
symmetry
means never
in
determining
3i
whether we
Atlas,
witnessed
despite its
remarkable
obvious
natural
activity,
fragmentation
suggests
or
either
encountered something
a very
the interstellar
regular,
medium
homogeneous
contains
nucleus,
that current
or
physics
a
does
rotation
not
state
anticipate.
that averages out asymmetries
3i
over the
Atlas
exposure
demonstrates behaviors that
The
push
Norwegian
the boundaries
tail
of cometary
observations
science
reveal
in
dynamics
multiple
that
dimensions
earlier images
simultaneously.
couldn't capture.
The blue
That
shift
curling,
during
twisting
solar approach
pattern in the
contradicts
ejected material
expectations
provides
based
our
on
most
dust
direct
scattering
evidence
physics.
of rotation.
The organized
When
jet
combined with
structures
the stable
defy
core
random
and expanding
fragmentation
halos
patterns
seen in other
predicted by
observations,
thermodynamic
we can
models.
build a complete picture
The
of
mass
a spinning
loss
object
rates exceed
that's
what a
actively
small nucleus
sublimating
should
material,
produce,
even
but
with
definitely
maximum
not
surface
disintegrator
area
exposure.
The spiral structure
The acceleration
indicates regular,
surpasses
consistent
gravitational
rotation,
models,
even without the
accounting for
wobbling or
outgassing
precession
thrust.
that might occur if
Each
the
anomaly
nucleus were
might have
irregular
individual
or fragmented.
explanations, but their
The quality
combination
of the Norwegian
creates an
data,
unprecedented
given the
case
observing
requiring
conditions,
careful
suggests
analysis
that 3i Atlas's
Hubble's November
tail is
spectroscopy
surprisingly bright
and Webb's
in relation
December
to the
imaging
coma. Will either reveal
could indicate
a
a
high dust
confirming
to
natural
gas
breakup
ratio in
or
the
show
ejected
structural
material,
anomalies,
forcing
making
the tail
entirely
more
new
reflective and
interpretations.
easier to detect.
The resolution limits
Alternatively,
of these instruments
grain size
define what
distribution
details we
in
can
the
discern.
tail might be optimal
Hubble
for
can resolve
reflecting
structures
sunlight
down to specific
with
angular
particles
sizes
large enough
at
to be
3i
good
Atlas
reflectors,
distance, but small enough to be
Webb's
easily
infrared
lifted
capabilities
from the nucleus
penetrate
by gas
dust
pressure
clouds
to reveal hidden structures.
Consider what all of this
Together,
means for our
they provide
understanding of
complementary
3i
views
Atlas.
of the object's true nature.
This object travelled from
The
another star
disintegration
system
is real,
surviving the
photographed
vast
by
emptiness
multiple
of interstellar
observatories,
space for
measured
potentially
through
millions of
photometry,
years, and
It
quantified
then
through
survived its
astrometry.
closest approach to our sun.
The jets
Experiencing
are real,
intense
documented
heating
across
and
multiple
gravitational
independent
forces.
observatories using different
Now,
instruments and
as it
techniques.
heads back toward
The
interstellar
acceleration
space,
defied pure
continues
gravitational
ejecting
material
material
with
in
a
remarkably
remarkably
organised
organized
way.
calculated with precision.
The stability of its
orbital
core
mechanics.
through all of this
These are not
suggests a robust
interpretations,
structure,
but direct observations,
possibly indicating a
what
composition
physical processes
or internal
created these
structure
phenomena
different
will
from
define
typical solar
not just
system
what
comets,
3i Atlas is, the
but what
expanding
stories
halo
the darkness
observed
between
across
stars
all
has been
datasets
carrying for
deserves
eons.
detailed consideration.
The answer impacts
In the
our
observations
understanding
from Spain,
of planetary system
Thailand,
formation
and Norway, the
This
transport
feature
of
grows
materials between
consistently
stars
and predictably,
and the frequency of
the
interstellar
expansion
visitors
isn't occurring in bursts
Each
or irregular
possibility
puffs
opens
that
different
might
windows
indicate
into
explosive
cosmic
events
processes or sudden
operating
fragmentation
beyond our solar system.
Instead, the
We see
telescopes are
steady,
locked on target,
continuous
tracking
expansion
the object
maintaining
as it
roughly
races through
circular
the solar
symmetry.
system.
The
The
data
halo
streams
radius
are
increases
accumulating
at a measurable
astronomical
rate between
databases,
observations,
allowing
somewhere
for potential
in the
velocity
spectroscopy
calculations
revealing
of the
chemical
expanding
compositions.
materials.
In the trajectory
This regular
calculations
expansion
mapping its
points to
path,
continuous,
in the
regulated
thermal models
outgassing,
explaining its behavior,
rather than
lies the
chaotic
answer to whether
activity
millions
that
of
would
ice and
accompany
rock
nucleus
fragments
disruption
are following predictable
the
physics,
layered structure within
or
the
whether
halo,
something unprecedented,
particularly visible
just past the Thailand observation system during humanity's first moments about the emission process, of recognizing and studying it with scientific precision.